Yo, what is up, guys? Welcome to the Tony and Dakota podcast. Today, we got one of our own special guest.
This is Andrew Eytcheson. I probably said his name wrong, but it kind of looks like that. He's 18 years old. He goes to Central Noble, so he's still in high school, and he is our acquisitions guy. He's 100% commission, and he's got like 60 grand in the bank. This kid's only 18 years old. He's got a motorcycle. I don't know how he's not the coolest kid at his school. He keeps telling us that he's not, but Andrew Eytcheson.
What's up, guys? Thanks for having me on.
Yes, sir. All right, first question. I kind of want to know, what do other people say about you?
Wow, that's a good question. I mean, honestly, for me, I feel like I get a lot of respect for what I'm doing. And then I feel like obviously being in high school, there's a lot of kids that obviously are jealous and gonna hate. I mean, it is high school. So I feel like a lot of people respect what I'm doing and are like happy to see that for someone being so young. And especially from a small town in Albion, So I feel like, I definitely get a lot of respect for, being around you guys and like doing what I'm doing.
Does anybody, have you actually had anybody say anything like negative to you, or do they just usually you hear it from other people?
I'll hear it from other people sometimes. Then, you can obviously tell when somebody, wishes they had something that you have, and you can just see their energy and stuff. And I mean, no one's really saying anything directly up front to me, but I feel like, I've definitely heard stuff because I don't think nobody's obviously going to say anything to my face about it. It's just something to talk behind the screen about or talk to other people about, and then I just hear the word.
Gotcha.
So when we first met Andrew, we may have met him before, but I believe the first time that I met Andrew was during a self-development seminar. It was PSI Basic Seminar. Andrew ended up being there because of Joel Couse. So shout out to Joel.
Yes, sir.
He had the level up meetups. And Dakota and I got an awesome opportunity. We actually got in touch with our first private moneylender because of that. And Joel decided to sponsor some people even though he couldn't make it to the event. And Andrew was one of those people that he sponsored. So I believe that Andrew's his nephew. Andrew shows up, broken foot. He's like hobbling on crutches. His hair, he looked like one of the Beatles. It was even worse than it is now, trust me. And
Worse than it is now.
He had a fro, like it was a little worse. So Andrew comes up to us, and one of the goals that he actually set, because you have a small group where you get to set goals, he was like, I really want to work for LTD Property Group. And,
Is that true?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so in his small group, it was one of his goals.
Wow.
Was to work for LTD Property Group. So he approached us and was just, he was just like, dude, thanks so much for like bringing this. And I was like, yeah, cool. Like, I don't know who you are yet, but that's awesome. I think I've seen you on social media, like a lot of our posts and stuff. Like, awesome to meet you in person. And then he started talking to Dakota, and Dakota was like, yeah, man, we'll bring you on. If you can make us money, then we'll keep you on, but it's going to be 100% commission. So talk about what it felt like to be in the presence of the stars that,
Yeah, for sure.
to be around us. Were you starstruck? And then talk about what it looked like joining the crew, and then talk about when you were certain that this is what you wanted to do.
For sure. So, yeah, basically I went up to PSI. My uncle brought me there, and basically I knew you guys were going to be there. I'd seen it all over Facebook, knew it was going to happen, and I was at my uncle's one night, and I remember he was on the phone with you, actually, and he was like, so what's this all about? And you were basically just saying, it's the best thing you'll ever go to. It changed your life, etc. And me, my cousin, and his ex-girlfriend, he took us up there. We were up there the 3 days, and I was honestly really nervous just because I knew you guys were going to be there. I knew a lot of other people were going to be there. I didn't know what to expect. And I remember I got there the first day, and obviously I was hobbling on crutches, broke my foot, working the previous job I had. And I remember like seeing you guys, and I was like, I saw Dakota first, and then I saw you guys, and I was like, wow, like I'm really in their presence. Like this feels insane. Like I saw you guys in person for the first time. Thought it was pretty cool. And I had just put a house under contract with my uncle, like the first one ever, up in Etna Green. And I remember putting it on Facebook, like trying to dispo it for him. And I remember you came up to me, or we started talking a little bit. You asked how they were going, told you about it. Not so good. I think we got it for too high of a price. We can't sell it. Don't know what to do with it. And then, I just remember going to the event, and it was really shocking. It was definitely a crazy experience. Didn't know what to expect, was super nervous. And yeah, so then I remember a couple days going through it. I got to talk to you guys sort of just a little bit, not about work, not about really anything, just like saying hi and stuff. And then I remember one of the groups thing, one of the activities we did, me and Dakota, I think you came up to me or I came up to him or whatever, like, yeah, let's be together for it. And that one was just basically about, you know, you had to stand up if you believe the person, and it was about some deep stuff. And I remember Dakota stood up for mine, and it meant a lot to me. And then I obviously stood up for his, and I got to correlate with it a little bit. And I just remember sitting there across from him after it was done. I was like, what are my next steps? Like, I told him, like, kind of what I wanted to do. I was like, do I need to get bandit signs? Like, I want to start doing it on my own. I feel like right now in the spot with my uncle, we're just kind of like, you know, setting there. We're not necessarily moving forward. I don't know what to do. I'm learning, still trying to do new things. And then I remember you talking to me a little bit, telling me what I should do next. And yeah, like sat with me, and then that was the last day of the seminar. I was like, yeah, I gotta get. I told my cousin, I was like, I really want a picture with them. I just remember going up to you guys, I was like, can I get my picture with you guys? And then we got a picture, and then like after that, then I was like, it was amazing. I was like, dang, I got to be around all these people, got to talk to you guys, like build that relationship, started because I've been following you guys on social media for a couple years, watching your videos, commenting, all that stuff. I looked up to you guys a lot. And I obviously still do, so that was Psy, and then, yeah, that was like probably a stepping stone. Then leave Psy, go back to the trailer factory, which that's where I was before, and, you know, I broke my foot, it was terrible, and, yeah, like probably 2 weeks back in there, and then I was just sent at home one day, and I like my phone's ringing, and I look at it, and it says Dakota Bailey, and I'm like shaking, like sweating, like I'm like, holy cow, Dakota Bailey's calling me. And I just remember answering it, and you laid everything out, told me everything, said you guys wanted to bring me on, basically gave the role or kind of mainly what you guys wanted me to do, and I remember getting that call, and just I kept going on and on. I don't remember exactly what I was, but I mean, what did you think before? What were you saying before when I just kept saying certain things? And you're like, man, I don't even know. Like,
well, we gotta let people know too. Andrew also thought we were millionaires. So Andrew, this was before we actually like basically did become millionaires. We had, I don't remember how many properties we had, but anyway, he thought we were millionaires, so I thought that was kind of funny. He's like, oh, you guys are millionaires? I'm like, no, here's what we got. But then also, whenever he was talking, he was just like, I remember you basically just like, man, I'm so grateful for the opportunity. I'm hoping to do this. I'm gonna do really good in this. I'm like, dude, he went on for like 5 minutes about how great of a decision like it's gonna be and stuff. And I was like, all right, well, dude, I hope he doesn't do this to sellers. They're like, yes, I will sell you my house. Okay, hey, I just want to let you know that you made a really good decision here, and we're gonna take really good care of you. And I just want to let you know that like we are probably the best people. And go on for like go on for like 5 minutes and just be like, hey. That was a good decision.
Yeah, but I remember doing that, and then after I was done, I was like, holy crap, like I was just super excited, and go to my mom, and I was like, Mom, you don't understand the opportunity I have. Like, Dakota Bailey just called me, like, the LTD property group, like their business, like they flip houses, they have rentals, they're doing real estate, exactly the thing that I want to do. And yeah, she just didn't understand, honestly, at first. She didn't really know what it was or know you guys or anything like that. And obviously having a job, I'm secure, and you know, everybody thinks that's great, and for me it just wasn't great, especially knowing that this is the opportunity I had, and if I'm going to chase it, to go for it. So told her all about it. She's just like, man, I don't know, like, well, you just leave your job.
You told her you were going to quit. Oh yeah, you told her you're going to quit your job.
You just can't leave your job. And I was like, Mom, like I got to quit like now. Like I'm not going in tomorrow. I got to quit now. And she's like, well, she like wasn't really fond of that. So she's like, call your uncle and see what he thinks. And I already knew what he was going to think. So called him, basically laid it out. I'm like, yeah, Dakota just called me. This is the opportunity I have, the job, you know, should I take it? Like, what do I need to do? And he's just basically like, yeah, I mean, it is Tony and Dakota. Like, they're great guys. They're hustlers, all the above, like all the great things that, you know, we're doing. And they're like, he's like, you're going to have a lot of long nights. Like, there's a lot of stuff you're going to have to sacrifice if you really want to show them that, you know, you're made for it, that you're going to put in the work, you're going to put in the hours, you're going to get those skills, you're going to get trained, all that. And I was like, I know, I want it. And he's like, then your mind already hasn't made up. Like, you already know what you want, go for it. basically then he had to talk to my mom a little bit, and then I remember I went in that next day and told my boss that I was going to quit my job and that I had this opportunity. And the funny thing is I was working with your uncle, so that was cool. I remember he came in. It's like, "You're leaving, man?" Like, everybody would come in, like, because I was the youngest one in there, and they're just like, "You're leaving? Like, you're a good worker, like, blah, blah, blah." I'm like, "Yeah, I mean, I feel like anybody can be a good worker in the factory and, work hard and go fast." And
they're like, "Man, you're only 18. If you get started right now, you can be retired in 40 years."
Yeah, I mean,
you could be retired by the time you're 58.
Yeah, and it was pretty much just like stuff like that. And once I broke my foot, I was just kind of getting depressed being in there. I was sitting around for 9.5 hours a day building plumbing parts with my hands, not getting really anywhere in life at that moment, I thought. And yeah, I remember I put my 2 weeks in, or didn't really put it 2 weeks in, just basically was like, yeah, I'm done after today. And after I left that day, I came up here, and honestly, I was super nervous coming up a little bit, but I was super pumped. Came into the office, Jacinda was sitting there, and just was sitting there. Dakota was back on a call, and I was nervous hearing his voice. Just sitting back, I was like, dang, this is pretty serious. I've never been in an environment like this. Like, what is this all about? And Jacinda was just talking to me. I was talking to her for a little bit, and then you came out, and yeah, got the computer, got the paper about what to do, and I just started, and we started going up from there. So
Yeah, were you, so one of my questions was, did you have fear whenever you were first starting to reach out to people? Like, were you like, oh, snap, I'm just going to start talking to people, and like, were you scared, or were you just like, screw it, I'm just going to do it?
Yeah, I was definitely scared. I guess I didn't really know. I thought like, hey, I got a new job, I'm secure, I'm going to be here. I didn't realize that I was taking on like sales, acquisitions, and 100% commission. I kind of knew it, but I didn't know what it was really all about. So, I didn't think anything about it at first. I was like, well, I'm just texting people, and if I get a deal, I get a deal, or like whatever that was. If I set a point, we get a deal. I mean, that's mainly what I thought the end goal was, obviously, which it is. And yeah, I remember just coming back to your office and just like pressing the send button, doing all that. And then I just remember like, always asking you, what do I say? What do I say? What do I need to say? And then started doing a little bit on my own. But yeah, I was definitely scared talking to people at first, just because, being in a factory, and then previously I worked at Rule King. So, I got a little bit of people skills at Rule King, not much, just from the position I was in. Then the factory, you're just inside, so you don't talk to people, you don't build relationships, you don't actually try to help others out necessarily. You're just working for a month or for a weekly check. So yeah, I was really actually scared talking to people at first, just because I didn't know what to say, I didn't know what to expect, and I wasn't expecting confrontation.
Yeah. So was there anything specific that you did to get over your fear? Like, let's say anybody's trying to start to do this. Like, what'd you do to actually get over that initial fear? Because, like, you knew a little bit about what to say, but at the same time, like, you had the scripts and stuff. But, I mean, a lot of people can find that easily. So what'd you do to actually get over the fear? Was there anything specific, or did you just do it?
I feel like after time, like, going through, it's rinse, lather, repeat. So I feel like definitely doing it a lot more, and just accepting like, hey, this is going to happen. I definitely feel like that helped me a lot. I want to say there's anything specific other than, listening to you, just literally listening to everything you told me and how to overcome objections. So I feel like, just learning and going through it a lot more, that definitely helped me. Also doing a lot outside of here and watching YouTube videos, just like searching up those things of how to do that. But I feel like really it's just all mental. Mm-hmm. And you just have to accept it. Like, hey, this is my role. I'm in sales. I got to do this. I'm going to be dealing with it daily. Like, you just got to accept it. So I feel like that's a part for every salesperson that you have to go through.
So first of all, I got to say the intimidating environment that Andrew was talking about was a nail salon that we just got done refinishing. It was Dakota's idea to start an office in the first place, so it would have been hilarious if Andrew would have had to like come to Dakota's house or like come to my house and hang out for a little bit. But it is just kind of funny looking at people's perceptions, because like anybody that like has influence or is powerful in some ways, like just somebody, like there's nothing special about anyone really. Also, how long did it take for you to get paid? For people who out there who may not be willing to like struggle or wait or like understand that like, hey, when you're going commission, sometimes it takes a bit and you got to kind of trust the process. How long did it take you to get paid? And then when did you experience a proof of concept where you're like, okay, this is repeatable and it's going to work out?
Yeah. So I think it was a little over a month or two. Or a
I think it was within a month. I think you got a small one.
Yeah, it was I think a month or two in, but yeah, basically started texting people, and I remember I was sitting in the office, and this lady responded back, and she said she wanted $5,000 for her house, and I looked at the Couse like, dude, like I showed him, I was like, this lady wants $5,000 for her house, like I don't know if she's wrong or not, or like if she wants 50, and Dakota's like, there's no way. I'm like, I think so, and he's like, are you sure she didn't mean 50?
Yeah, I was like,
So
just ask her.
yeah, so I texted her back, and I was like, "Are you like? Did you mean 50K?" And she's like, "No, 5." And I was like, "Okay, perfect." And Dakota's like, we looked at the numbers and like looked at the price. We're like, "Okay, cool. Let's set the appointment." So set my first ever appointment. That was pretty exciting. And I remember we were on our way to the appointment. We get to this house, and it was pretty crappy. It needed torn down, and we just couldn't really figure out the numbers and stuff with them. Finally figured it all out. Got it for a little cheaper. Only made like $2,500 after it was all said and done. So we actually were supposed to make like $5,000, I think. Then after all the fees and all the bull crap we had to deal with, it was like a month process of just trying to figure it out after we got under contract. And then made $250 for my first commission check. So
Dude, I don't even think we made 2,500. I think we made like we gave you a flat.
Yeah.
We gave you a flat on that one because I think we made less than like we made maybe 1,500.
yeah, I was gonna say that one was low. We were like, why did we just do all this work for $1,500? But
So Andrew made $250, and then he was thinking, "Yeah, this is what I definitely want to stay in." You didn't.
Yeah.
So at what point were you like, "Okay, like this deal is proof of concept.
Yeah.
This is the right thing."
So I would say probably a week after that. Then I was just kept texting. I was sending I think 500 a day or 250 at first, but yeah, started getting more leads coming in, and I was still obviously learning what to say and stuff like that. And then like that next week after that one that we got in Bluffton, it like there were like 2 or 3 people that were like, yeah, I want to sell. Yeah, I want to sell. And I was going through the scripts, doing everything, and Dakota was still helping me. And we were looking at the prices, and people were saying they like wanted certain prices for their house, and it was good deals. And we set the appointments, set more appointments, and we went to them. We got them under contract, and probably after Sprott Street.
Yeah,
And
Sprout was the one.
probably after Sprott Street, either that one or the next one after that. That was when I made over $1,000 finally.
Well, Sprout was
No,
I think it was 2.
2. Yeah, I made over $2,000 on that one, and
that was one of the first
appointments.
ones.
Yeah, that was one of the first ones. I was in like my first 2 weeks. I think I got like 4 properties under contract and set a good amount of appointments, and then I was like, man, like maybe I am meant for this. Maybe it is working. Like. Then after I started getting those, and Dakota would just be like, dude, we're going to make some money on these, like, just hype it up and stuff, and I, like, could feed off the energy. I'm like, yeah, like, I'm about to finally, like, make some money, like, compared to what I was making before, and probably after those is when I was like, okay, I think something's there. I think, you know, something good is going to happen.
Yeah, I think you got your first deal within like within a week.
Within a week, yeah.
Yeah, which I mean, realistically, if you're spending 5 hours a day, and you're really actually like got some sort of person who's like, halfway knows what they're doing,
Yeah.
I would feel like you should be able to get at least like some appointments. You might not get a deal. Like getting a deal, that's pretty rare, but you should be able to get some appointments.
Yeah.
That's with a method that's pretty effective too. I guess it'd be like, the equivalent of sending out 5,000 letters, putting up 200 bandit signs, sending out
Well, not 5. Oh yeah.
10,000 text messages. So you got to have some
Well,
decent
no, he didn't
data.
send that many in the beginning. He was only
Okay.
sending out like 500
Then I
texts.
remember one
So
day I was like,
2,500 texts.
Yeah, well then, the data is important too. You got to make sure that you pulled the right list. You got to make sure that you target the right people. You got to make sure that you have good phone numbers, and then you can make some stuff happen.
Yeah, I think if you're trying to do this completely on your own, that you need to be more patient with yourself because your data might not be as good. Your scripts may suck. You might just need to take the lowest hanging fruit ever, a deal that nobody could screw up, and then maybe you'll end up with a deal. I would still figure out how to screw it up.
Or you buy our course and then you go through you bypass a lot of the same struggles that we had. Because, this is 4 years in. Andrew comes in and we already had a little bit of a system. And so basically we showed him our system and then he puts in the work to make that happen. So
Yeah, even with Andrew too. I think about this with Dakota because when Dakota first started car sales, he had a good first few months, but then he had a lull where he barely sold any cars. And so I just think of how I gave up pretty early in sales the first couple times that I tried it. I'm not as natural of a salesperson as Andrew Dakota. I still could have been successful at it. It just would have taken me 6 months, and I wasn't willing to wait that long to get it figured out. So I think even for, Andrew was willing to wait basically 6 weeks before he got a real check. Like, he wasn't even getting real checks when he first started.
Yeah.
So Dakota had some struggles early on and thought about quitting sales.
Yeah.
So that's just for the people listening.
Yeah. So what do you think the hardest part of sales is? What would you say?
Man, I feel like the hardest part is actually having the drive to like find someone's situation, find their problems, find the pain points, and actually like go through all the work you have to even get to the end goal, and like accepting people are going to say no and finding out ways to overcome those. Yeah, the hardest thing is just being persistent, honestly, at first, and like actually like committing to that lifestyle, because you just don't go to work and work a certain amount of hours from 9 to 5 and are like, well, I'm done, I'm leaving. I did what I did for the day. So I feel like you got to put, it's whatever. You got to put in a lot of work, and you got to put in a lot of time. And I feel like that's something obviously I was very committed to and did.
Yep.
And I feel like that's the hardest part, is like actually having to like put other people aside, put other things aside that aren't nearly as important as you think they are, and then commit to actually what's going to pay off in the future, and like what can actually like build your success. Like, do you want to build your success and like actually like grind and hustle, or do you want to like go out with your friends and like all those hours that you could have had after leaving the office to hang out with friends, to do other things, you could have had developing your skills and actually trying to get better, get more deals, figure out what you're good at for sales, figure out where your weaknesses are, your strong points, and then just like pursue both and work on them. So that's what I would say.
Yeah. I think it's interesting because in sales you have to have a basically like an equal amount of confidence. Like, you have to be very confident in yourself and your abilities, almost like to where you're like, you're like, man, like I can do this. I'm like good enough. I'm strong enough. So it's almost like you have a little bit of an ego, but at the same time, you have to be willing to learn. Yeah. So if you're not willing to learn, then like it's not going to help you either. Mm-hmm. So you have to balance that. You have to balance that super confidence with the ability to learn too. Yeah. So one other thing that I want to say about sales that I found that has helped a lot, if you guys are interested in getting into sales, is being excited when somebody tells you no. Yep. Like, I used to get so excited because I could finally take them out of the CRM or off the list. I'm like, okay, good. I don't have to follow up with you anymore, because you got to keep following up with them until they say no or they say yes. I get excited either way, so it's a win-win for me. Yeah. And that's basically something that I've tried to show Andrew too. Is like, they said no, great. Like, see if there's any other way to get them to say yes. Like, if there's any other, basically you give them options. See if there's any other options you can give them. If not, cool, let's get them off the list. And that's exciting to get them off the list.
It easy.
Yeah.
That's just one step away from getting a deal.
Yep. Or get them off. That way you can focus on other people who want to.
What actually matters to make us the money, to get us the properties, and to grow the business.
Yep.
Yeah, it's a lot easier when those people too are like somebody you didn't invest an incredible amount of time in, because there's some, I was going back through my phone and I was like, oh, I remember this guy. He had 2 properties in 08, and I just looked it up and I was like, oh, dude, he sold them for like $10K more than what we were going to buy him for. I mean, that was like maybe 6 months ago that I talked to that dude, and I just now remembered that, like, hey, I took him out of the CRM because I thought we were pretty much done, but now housing prices went up, so I was like, oh, those might be deals now, when 6 months ago they were not deals. Yeah. And then I just looked up the guy and they'd sold, and I was like, oh, I went on those appointments. Those are ones that I went by myself. You didn't even make it to those, which is rare now. But I ended up looking at those houses, and now I just look back at it like, oh man, that really sucks.
Well, dude, I did that with all of ours. That's when I was like, okay, we need to get an acquisitions guy to follow up, because I did that with all of our old leads. I looked at all of our old leads from like a year ago. Every single one of them, except for like one, sold. Yeah. And they sold for a price that, like, there was still money to be made there. So I'm like, dude, like, there's money to be made for follow up.
Another reason to get RE Simply, we're just throwing things into this conversation, pitch and stuff. RESIMPLI.com/Tony and Dakota. That's the CRM that we use to keep track of all of our leads, so we can follow up with them consistently. And we have Andrew do a lot of the reaching out after the drip campaigns run out, text messages run out, or we just need to touch them with a human. Then Andrew takes those leads over.
Yep.
I feel like too, you know, going into this before, I had like my uncle taught me a little bit about wholesaling and gave me like some basics about real estate, but I don't feel like during those courses and stuff, I really got into like the sales side. I never knew real estate was sales. I never knew any of that. I just thought, oh, you put a property under contract and you sell the contract and you make money. That's all I knew. I didn't see the nitty gritty really behind it until I came in here, and I was like, okay, like wow, I just knew a little bit. And then yeah, basically, it's funny too about the RE Simply and going through like before I even came on is like we freaking have set like a lot of appointments and got ones under contract that have been like a year or two ago just from following back up. And that's probably one of like the hardest things to actually do is following up. Nobody wants to do that. And I feel like that's what we do a lot, and that's how we get a lot of deals. So that's definitely a thing in sales that was hard for me from the beginning is like following up and like actually like having to stay persistent, because if not, you're going to lose that deal, which loses you money.
Yeah.
And like, you know, you obviously want to optimize and try to make the most money you can in sales, because if you're not selling, you're putting properties under contract, setting appointments, then you're not making money. And
At all.
Exactly. So yeah, that was yeah.
But dude, let's talk about the upside as well, because you know we talk a lot about the downsides, the hardships. Dude, the nice thing about sales is like I started off, I was 100% commission as well. So let's talk about the upside. What do you think the great things? What's your favorite part about sales?
Yeah, so my favorite part is definitely being able to, you know, someone's in a bad spot and actually like being able to figure out their pain points, figure out their situation, and like actually be able to solve it while still being saley and like going through what we do for like to get the properties. So obviously my favorite part is when somebody says yes, or when we're at an appointment and we're going pen to paper on the contract. That's obviously a great feeling, but definitely negotiating on the phone and like actually pulling those numbers while you're looking at like everything. You're like, dang, like we're gonna get a good deal here. And it's just crazy how we buy properties for 50%, you know, sometimes or 75% of value minus repairs. So it's definitely like that's a good feeling is putting them under contract and actually getting that commitment and like just knowing like, hey, I freaking put all this work in, put the hours in, I'm still growing my sales. And just to like actually get to the process now where it's pretty natural, setting the appointment, even locking them up on the phone, that's an amazing feeling for sure, is like actually locking it up over the phone, not even seeing it, and using your skills to actually develop and to do that. So those are my favorite parts. I just love it.
Yeah.
Andrew actually got a deal that was a walk-in. If he answers the phone when we're not available, or he gets any floor traffic while we're not available, then he gets a percentage of the deal. And there was a potential customer that walked in. They were just like, hello? Because we weren't available for some reason. Dakota was gone, I was gone. And Andrew went there and got it under contract that same day. Just talked to the lady, looked at the property, put it under contract, and I was like, we're going to make a lot of money at that price.
Yeah,
that was a good price.
Tell that
That one
story.
was crazy. So I was in the old podcast room before we opened up the other side of the office, and I was cold calling, just had my headphones on and stuff, couldn't hear anything. And it paused for a second. I got off the phone, and I hear a lady like being like, hello, hello. And I'm like, what the heck? Like, who's here? And I like slid the door open, and she's like right here in front of me. I like looking down because she was short. I'm like, hey, like, how can I help? And she basically is like, I saw your guys' sign out there. It says, like, you guys buy houses cash or, like, whatever your sign is out there. I was like, yeah. Like, did you have one you were looking to sell? And she's like, yeah, I do. I've been trying to get with this other realty group, and they just haven't answered me. And I saw you guys, looked you guys up. You guys seem to know what you're talking about. And your page looks amazing, your reviews. She just basically said everything that she needed to say. And I was like, yeah, I can definitely get you an offer. And then, you know, before we had the office open, so I went into your office, sat down, ran out to my car, got contracts. So I was like, I'm going to lock it up no matter what. And was looking at, like, you know, the tax websites and stuff like that. It's a $200,000 house. And I was looking at tax website, had like $150K. And I'm just going through building a report with her, finding out her situation, what was going on with the house, just even getting to know her better. And I ran everything, and I was looking, and I took that number and times it by 0.5, and I was basically told her, I just said it looks like other investors in there are paying somewhere around, I think I said 35 to 40K or 40 to 45K, and she's like, yeah, that sounds good. And honestly, that was my first time actually really saying a number in front of somebody and like being stern. And basically after I said that, She's just like, yeah. And honestly, going through my head, I was thinking about, I was like, man, I was a little bit nervous at first to lowball or shoot that low of a number because I wasn't sure what she was going to say back. And I'm in person, I'm not over the phone. So, you know, if I get confrontation, I get confrontation, overcome it. And it sounded good to her. So I was like, all right, well, we're going to put her contract for 40 just to be safe since we haven't seen it. And then all we are asking is just contingent on walking through it. And, yeah, I remember just signing everything then and there. And I was pretty happy about that. That's really nice, especially when you guys are gone. It's like, hey, like, when they're gone, I can still, you know, I'm getting to the point now where I can go to the appointments. I can lock stuff up. I pretty much have a good idea of what to do now. And, yeah, that's definitely a great feeling when you guys are gone to, you know, be still pushing forward and moving forward, getting deals. And I remember calling you after, and I was like super excited. I was like, yeah, I got this property, told you everything about it. And you're like, dude, let's go. Like, freaking awesome. And
where was I? Was I in Florida then?
Yeah, you guys were in Florida. And I think Tony was obviously still. Tony had just left the office, actually.
Yeah,
that's
just
the funny
left.
thing.
Oh, really?
Tony had just left the office, and she came in like 15 minutes after that.
I don't know if I would have shot her as low of a number.
Yeah, so shot it.
We went back and renegotiated anyway.
And,
Yeah, that's
told
funny.
Dakota got back and went out there, renegotiated, told her we'd want to be all in for 40, got it for 30K, and it's a $200-some-thousand house, so that one's gonna be pretty nice.
It does need a silly amount of work.
Yeah,
It
we're
does need
getting
a lot of work, but
yeah, we're getting the bid. It was a good deal no matter what. It's potential to make somewhere between $70,000 and $100,000, but
Could be haunted.
yeah, there's some people that
Yeah.
did die there, but it needs a ton of work. Like I'm gonna guesstimate. I don't want. Hopefully Ed's not watching this. Let's just. I'm not gonna throw out any numbers until Ed gives us our quote.
So Dakota talks about in sales, because that was like an alley-oop. Like she was, the lady was one of the 10%ers who was going to sell the property no matter what. Like they want to be done with it. They're extremely motivated, and they're just like, this is it. I need to sell. So almost anybody could close them. So it's a good thing that we had somebody here. Then there's the 80% that need to be convinced, and then the 10% who are never going to sell you their house. So for the people who are just getting started, maybe the 10% is all you're going to end up with when you're first getting started, but like there's still 10%, guys.
and focus on the 80% of your skill level. Like that's what you need to do is focus on like to where you can close the 80%. Don't worry about the laydowns and don't worry about the people who are the worst. You need to worry about the 80% that's just normal people. And yeah, I mean that 10%, anybody would have closed that deal, but there's still like the amount of money that is being made there is not something that everybody could do. Not everybody would have gave that. If it was, no, I'm not gonna say names. If it was somebody else, they would have offered more money.
Yeah.
So
I might have said, just based on what she was probably gonna say, I probably would have been at like somewhere between 60 to 80.
I was gonna say I would have probably started at 50 if it were me. I'd have been like 50 to 55, and then after we went and saw it, that's when I would have renegotiated. So nobody would have got it under contract for that low, even though she still wanted to sell it.
Yeah, she was super motivated, but I feel like every day we're dealing with the 80%, and that's really where I've got to build my skill is talking to like those people and going through a lot of follow-up and not always getting that yes that day, but also, we're closing people on the phone that are the 80%, or we're going out there, sending the appointments, and I'm building the report, and I'm doing everything I can on those 80%. So I feel like that's where I've got to build my skill a lot, and then, getting to get trained and from like the best car salesman in Fort Wayne. So yeah, it was like, I feel like definitely for that, getting trained by you, I definitely got to feed off your energy and just putting a lot of work in outside of the office. But I don't know, it just caught on to me, and I just took it and ran. So
talk about pressure from other people being 18 years old. They're like, what are you going to do with your life? And you're like, oh, I think I'm going to like continue to be in acquisitions for real estate. They're like, yeah, but like, are you going to finish your education though? And you're like, I mean, do you have plans to go back to school? Like what do pressures look like from your parents? Does everybody kind of view this as a temporary thing? What do the pressures look like from other people? And then what are your plans?
Yeah, so all throughout, like probably since 8th grade or my freshman year, once I got in high school, I always stressed because I looked up to my parents, my dad, a lot because he has a good job, makes a lot of money, and I'm like, man, like I want to be like him or at least make the money like him. And I always stressed about not being either better than my dad or like, you know, on that same like level. And I always had that thought in the back of my mind of just not ever having enough money. And I always knew what I wanted, but I didn't know how I was going to acquire the job to do it because, you know, before when I was getting paychecks, I'm like, well, I just need to work this many more hours and this many more paychecks to finally hit this goal. So that was always in the back of my mind because I've always been money hungry and I've always wanted to eventually be able to do something with my money where I can not have to work. So never really wanted to go to college. It's never been anything on the back of my mind all throughout high school. I've just always like tried to figure out, well, what's the best paying job I can get where I don't got to go to college and I can still try to have the life that I want. And my parents, they never really have said anything about me going to college just because they've always sort of known that I haven't wanted to. But again, I never knew what that looked like. So definitely from my grandparents and stuff, you know, everybody thinks college is what you should do after you're done. And if you don't go to college, then you're a nobody. You're never going to make it. So yeah, definitely that's something that was really hard for me in the beginning. And all throughout high school, I always had it in the back of my mind. And I was like, man, like, what am I actually going to do? Because I don't want to go to college. And I've always been the type in school, as long as I was getting A's and B's and maybe occasionally a C. That sounds pretty bad, but I was happy because it's passing. And I never have studied in my life for school. Like I just never have liked school. It's just, I think it's a waste of my time. And especially now, just like, man, like I'm ready to be done. But yeah, it was definitely a struggle. And I just never wanted to go to college. And just been working, so that's something too. And then, you know, when you're in school, the teachers and everything tell you like, yeah, like college, I feel like they just always are like pursuing that on kids. And it makes you feel dumb when you're in school and don't know what you really want to do. And kids are like, yeah, I'm going to this college, or I'm going here and I'm going here. And the teacher's like, oh, that's so great. Like, or like stuff like that. And it's always made me feel down just 'cause I'm like, I'm not going to college. And like, I know like I'm one of like the popular kids. I know I'm known around here, but I'm not going to go to college. And the kids that maybe aren't as known or are going to college, the teachers think highly of them more than me, in my opinion. So that was definitely a struggle. And, you know, just listening to other people tell me, oh, you should go, you should go, you should go. And just never really wanted to.
I think that Robert Kiyosaki outlines that really well. This is an unpopular opinion, especially if I have teachers listening, but he talks about fake teachers and how the people who don't actually do it are the ones who are teaching it. So like if you're teaching accounting but you're not an accountant, or you're teaching finance but you're not a finance person, or you're teaching business but you've never started a business, then you're a fake teacher, according to Robert Kiyosaki. And
what do you believe, Tony?
Yeah, I personally, I have the teacher archetype in me. So I feel like I would be one of those fake teachers because I can like go on and on. I can listen to podcasts and watch videos and that sort of thing. Give somebody enough of an idea or inspiration to be able to actually, I can make some stuff up for everything that I don't actually know.
It'll sound good too.
I feel like I'm a pretty good fake teacher, but yeah, I mean, teachers are important. There's a reason why they're there. It's just that I feel like they discourage people who don't fall in line, and people who don't believe in authoritarianism. So
I think that's a good way to say it. Actually, people who don't fall in line, because it's interesting if you fight the way that society tells you that it's supposed to happen. Literally, they're like, no, just do what you're told. You're supposed to listen to me because I'm the teacher, and you do these certain things. And usually, like I've found that the best entrepreneurs like just don't listen to that. Like, and then they think that those are like they can't differentiate between like the kids that are like getting in trouble and the people that are actually like going to do something good with their life, because they don't give a crap about what other people think. They're going to go do what they want to do, and what is actually going to what they feel is actually going to impact their life or other people's lives more than what the society tells. So it's funny that teachers, I feel like, can't tell the difference about that a lot.
And teachers tend to be diplomats, and they tend to follow the controller archetype. Like they tend to have similar personalities, and they end up kind of being exactly what it is that the school system wants them to believe, it seems like.
Yeah.
Some of my favorite teachers were not necessarily like that, but they end up being ideologues. They end up falling into the same thought process as a lot of the people around them, which is true of any environment. It's just a lot cooler to be a maverick, you know,
Yeah.
and to maybe push against all of the control and friggin' what's that other thing I said earlier? It's just authoritarian.
Yeah, I have some teachers too that are really cool, and like I've talked to them about stuff, and I don't think every teacher's like that, but I've had some that I have really good relationships with that aren't so pushy on, like, you know, go to college, go get your degree. That's the only way you're going to be successful. So I just don't like listening to teachers or like them telling me what to do or like stuff like that, just because, especially now, just like sitting in class in that class every day, I'm just like, dude, what am I like I don't care what the teacher says, and it sounds bad. I just don't care. And like when I get schoolwork, I'm like, why does this matter? Like, I'm already doing so well right now in high school, where it's just like, you know, I don't really care necessarily about what I'm doing or if I get a certain grade. I mean, I care about my grades, but, you know, I just don't like being told what to do, and especially when they're trying to like teach me something, which there are certain things in school that are good to be taught. But I have English class, and I like my English teacher, but just certain things like reading certain like stories or poetry and stuff like that, I'm like, what am I doing? And I'm just like thinking while I'm in there for that much time, or I'm like, what could I be doing up here? Even though I get here at a good time now, I'm just like, man, like this is just, I like have found skills and I'm developing skills and I'm getting better at skills that are going to make me a lot of money in the long run and help me get my life where I want instead of, you know, now. But it's just a thing I have to accept and finish out.
Yeah, I mean, you got a couple months left.
Yep.
Dude, you remind me of when I was in car sales. It's basically like your teachers right now is my managers. I'm like, dude, this guy's my manager? What am I doing listening to this guy?
Yeah.
I was like, how is this guy telling me what to do? And he's telling me to go pick up rocks and throw them in the landscaping right now. I'm like, I work on commission, bro. What are we doing here?
Yeah,
So like, dude, like, yeah, it's hard whenever the people that are above you are not actually where you want to be at, because then it's hard to follow them, because it's like, why am I following you? Why am I listening to you if you're not even close to living or even know how to live the lifestyle that I want? So, I mean, that's my biggest thing is like your teachers don't know how to they don't even know how to get what you've got right now.
I know.
They don't even know how to do that.
And that's the hardest thing for me to actually like be in school and think about, because I think about all that stuff. I'm like, dude, like I have no teacher in here has these skills. Like no one knows what I know. No one knows the people in here that, you know, I know and the things that's possible. And it just sucks when they have the authority over you, and because they're the teacher and they're the boss. And it's just like, man, I'm 18 years old in high school, and I can probably, you know, do something right now because of the skills that I've developed to make a lot of money and wealth and have freedom. So it's just like, I look at that and I look at the money I'm making now and here, and I'm just like, dude, I'm in high school. Like, why am I listening to anybody in here right now? And it's not about the money, but, you know, it's just another thing that I think about in the back of my mind. It's like, man, I'm already going above teacher salaries and, you know, for a couple of years, almost on pace for that. So it's just like, man, I just don't like listening to him.
See, that's the exact thing that I'm talking about, though, is when you're in sales, that exact same thing that you just said, like you feel that and you have to, like, you embrace that. You have to have that confidence where, dude, I know what I'm talking about. I know what I'm good at. And then you have to, like, also be able to balance that with, I have to continue to learning. I have to keep growing. It is very hard to like go right in between both. Like, dude, I am great. I have developed skills. Like I've like actually, I know what I'm doing, but at the same time, like always continue to stay learning and be like teachable. Because once you think once you think you've made it, then like you're no longer a good salesperson anymore either, because now you just like, screw you, I don't need you, and like I don't need what you have, and like you just treat people like garbage. So balancing those is always like the dance that I feel like salespeople are going to go through. So
and that's something I've felt. Obviously, you know, you never stop learning in sales. I feel like obviously it's the truth, and you never actually, you can't ever think that you are good. You can know you're good, but you always have to like, you know, do what serves others. And you always have to continue growing your skills, because you're never going to be complacent. You're going to get to a spot, I feel like, where it's like, okay, I got the hang of it. You know, I know how to get us to this point. But, there's always the objections you have to overcome. There's always something that's going to go different than every other phone call. So it's just always getting better and like critiquing what you could have done on the last call, or just you're always just getting better in sales.
Yep.
So what are your life goals, Andrew? What do you want to accomplish now? Do you have like a number of, I feel like real estate people always talk about a number of units, but are there other things that you want to do too, like relationships, money, things that you want in your life, the people that you want to surround yourself with? What are
Places
your
you want
goals?
to visit?
Yeah, so my goals definitely are, obviously we'll go money first. So I'm obviously want to make $100,000, 6 figures, my first year of sales, which right now we're on pace to do that. So I'm pretty excited about that. And, it could happen in a couple months, who knows, but hopefully. But yeah, definitely just I want to really provide for my family and my mom. And then my mom's worked super hard to help me and my sister have the things we have, and so is my dad. So I definitely want to do more than that and like give back, obviously, and help out and do what I can. I want to acquire as many rental properties as I can this year. That's definitely one of my goals, is take my money and dump it into that. So I definitely want to try to build up the units as quick as I can, just so hopefully it pays off later. So that's probably my biggest things. And then, right now what we're doing, just traveling for work and just traveling in general, like going around the world, because I want to travel the world and I want to have the availability and flexibility to do that. That's something that is extremely, like, I'm thankful for here, is like I can never go back to working factory or anything like that. And you work a year to have 2 vacation days,
Right.
or 3 vacation days. It's like, that's not the life I want to live. And honestly, the more I thought about it now being here, it's just like, what the heck? Like, this is really like, and you don't see it until you're in it or hear about it. Like, obviously when I'm looking at the factory job, it's like, oh, money. But when you're in there, then you're trapped because, you only get a certain amount of days to do certain things, and you're on this time crunch and schedule. And I just don't like that. And so yeah, I definitely am like super thankful at this age to be able to do and like travel and do what we do for work and still make money and still help others out in the world. So that's definitely like, one of the things I think about. Man, there's so much.
What's a 370Z now? Luis says
Yeah,
so.
if we make enough money this year, I want to definitely buy a 370Z, just little race cars. All of us have a little bit of fun. Got to have a little bit of fun. But yeah, that's one of my goals. But I really want to attain assets first before I even touch that. Just because when I then touch it, it'll be a lot more fun and a lot more stressful. Because when you're on commission, you just can't go spend all the commission checks, because then you got to work hard again for it, and sometimes it might be a couple of days or a couple of weeks to get another deal. So you definitely have to be smart with the money, and I definitely, since the money I'm making right now, I definitely want to be smart with it, dump it into the properties, dump it into stuff that's going to create me long-term wealth. So then the short-term activities like buying a new car, going on a vacation, doing something fun with the money, then won't be as stressful, and I can actually enjoy it. So there's just a lot I have. Hopefully going to Arizona with you and traveling and working over there and doing stuff like that. Basically getting out of my hometown. I definitely don't like being in a small town. I like Fort Wayne a lot, just because I don't really know many people, and like I don't see all the kids I go to school with that aren't doing anything. Because when I go back to town, everybody from my school that's graduated, they're all in factories, or all saying they're doing something that they're not. And that's a really hard thing for me to even think about. Is it's kind of hard to like know that I've put in the work and I'm to where I'm at now, but I feel like sometimes, like we were saying earlier, I don't get the recognition exactly for it, and people just hate. But yeah, definitely want to travel a lot and still work.
So what actually motivates you to work then? Is it like actually hitting your goals, or what is motivating you?
Hitting my goals, and then definitely like helping you guys scale this, because I know it's obviously this is life. And this is honestly my life too, is being able to help you guys. And obviously, I'm a big part of this, just helping you guys get to where you want to be. And if I'm not putting in the work, if I'm not freaking going quick, if I'm not doing what I should actually be doing to get you guys to where you want to be quicker, as long as all of us growing, then what am I doing? Then I'm not setting myself up for anything. Because once we start doing that, then that reaps benefits that can help my future, and I can start growing my stuff and whatever. So definitely that's probably one of the biggest motivators, is like getting us where we need to be as quick as we can, because when we do that, then we can start having fun with other things and going into new things. So this, and then obviously being able to provide and have like myself be like secure by myself, where I can go here, I can do this, I don't have to rely on anybody to give me money. So that's definitely a big motivator. Just really, actually, I enjoy actually like helping people now. And like when you help somebody out in their situation, and like you're making money, they're happy, they got money, and you're getting a freaking house and turning it into something new. That motivates me a lot. But just sales in general, I've became to love it, and I just want to get better at it and see where I can develop and grow and how good I can be. So I never thought I would be a salesman. I never even pictured it, or I didn't even think I was capable of it. And man, I proved myself wrong, I guess.
Wow.
So I didn't hear Andrew say anything about relationships.
Yeah, relationships.
He showed us he showed us some image or some screenshots of his ex being kind of brutal. Like, I forgot how mean high schoolers are. It's like ridiculous. It's like stupid. It was stupid. But are you just like future now, and you're just like chase a check, never chase a, or like what do you?
No.
What are you trying to accomplish relationship wise?
For family or
Andrew's single too. If there's any ladies out there.
For
Like, do you want to have kids? Do you want to have a wife, or
sure.
do you want to be single for a while? You just want to date a bunch of women? You want to have five wives? Like,
yeah. So I mean, definitely long term, I obviously want to have a girlfriend and like a wife that's gonna that I think suits me and makes me happy. Definitely want to have kids in the future, but I think right now it's honestly kind of hard to say, just because I've always going through high school. I've never really been in many or like a committed relationships. I've had a couple girlfriends. I just don't know. I've always been the type of person that I like just having myself, and I can do what I want, and I can have my own time schedule, and like I can do a lot of stuff. And especially like the previous girlfriend I had, like being up here, I feel like that was definitely like it was always on the back of my mind, just like, man, like I need to be up here, and I felt like I was wasting time sometimes, like doing other things, because like I'm commissioned, so I want to make money, and I want to this is like my life. So obviously I need to replenish that into relationships and obviously fix that. But yeah,
or find somebody that's okay with that.
Or find somebody that's okay with it, exactly. And I felt like there was just a lot that was not the same, and a lot of things that she didn't like or whatever. And if they can't respect my job and like obviously what is going on, then sorry, you're not the right one.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's obviously a big thing in my life, and it's same for you guys. So
what would you look for? Like, if you had to say that you're looking for the perfect woman, let's say she's watching right now, like what would you say would be like attributes? Like what is some things that you actually want out of a relationship?
Yeah, definitely just that, like respect, and like being there for me, like actually supporting me, because the more support I have, and like she's okay and understands, like, hey, I know some nights you're gonna freaking be there for a long time, I know some nights we might not even see each other, then like that definitely would like help me out a lot. Like I want that, and somebody that's like actually like intrigued with it, or like actually like wants to like ride the journey along with me, because like, hey, like if I'm gonna do this, you're gonna be there with me, and like I want that person to know that like you could like have a nice life, and like we could, who knows where it's gonna go, but it's going great right now. Who knows where it's gonna go? Do you want to be on that ride? And like
so loyalty,
yeah, for sure. Loyalty, just commitment, and then I don't know, trust, for sure. Trust is honestly a big thing for me. But being young, I feel like a lot of other girls are just really immature, so it's hard for me to actually know when I'm like, I feel like I'm a lot more grown up here. So like high school girls and stuff, it's kind of hard for like me to accept that, or like try to figure out, because I feel like they just want to go out and do all kinds of stuff, and like I don't really necessarily want to do that. I don't want to be on that like high school relationship that, even though I want something like that's going to be real long term.
Right. So what's your age limit here? So what's your max age limit?
Or just contrast this with Andrew's grades. His grades not that big of a deal. He's looking for like 8, 9s, and 10s. When it comes to like
Oh goodness. I mean, yeah, I honestly don't have a limit. It's whatever. But I honestly like
40.
No, not 40.
So you got a limit.
Like
they're like, I don't know. I'll take anything. Just give me a price. Okay, I'll give you 10,000. Well, not that.
I mean 25. I feel like that's a good number.
25.
Anything there. I like older girls just because like they're
more
a
mature.
lot more mature, and then like they can understand certain things that younger girls don't, because they've been through it. because I feel like a lot of younger girls, they just want the drama and all kinds of stuff, and I don't like that.
Right.
And I feel like you don't know what you're actually talking about. You don't actually know who's right or wrong. You don't even know why you're arguing. So yeah.
So you want somebody that actually like thinks for themselves too, not just like listens to other people.
Yeah, somebody that actually has like their own morals and goals and like expectations in life. Because if you don't, then like we're two different people. Because I do. So like somebody that has expectations, somebody that is not just gonna like agree with somebody just to like make them happy. Like they make their own choices and stuff. But
So no codependence either. All right, we just laid out the roadmap for you, ladies. If you're that person, hit Andrew up.
And if you age out of his, then you can.
Tony's looking for the same thing.
Or still shoot the shot. It doesn't matter.
Tony's looking for the same thing.
Yeah.
Andrew's like, no, just don't come my way. Actually.
Yeah, I'll flush him to Tony.
Yeah, if it doesn't work out.
That's funny.
Andrew can be your boyfriend. I'll be your man friend. So, what are you struggling with right now, or what's something that you say that you're struggling with?
Man, this is gonna be crazy to say. Sometimes I struggle with not doing enough. So, like, I'll get a lot of deals, and say one day I don't get one, and I'm like, oh crap, like I need another deal. And like I don't know why I stress about it, but it's just because I expect so much more from myself, and like I want so much more, and I want so much more for everybody. So like obviously not every day you're gonna get a deal and stuff, but sometimes it's not a fear because I know I can do it, and it's just like sometimes I'll just get in my head about it too much. But not getting a deal or like going a couple days without one, because sometimes that does happen. And then obviously being on commission, like at first, that was a big thing I stressed about, because I'm like, dude, I'm making no money. I'm going from Albion to Fort Wayne. I'm using all this gas. And it's just like, that's sometimes I still fear about that. And even getting into it a little bit, making a little bit of money starting to, then I still had fear just because I'm like, man, and it's just gas. But I'm like, man, I got to, get gas, and I have this money, and I'm not getting a check every week. So,
well, dude, most people that would have stopped them from even doing it, they would have just thought about it too much, dude. And then like, other people start bringing that stuff up, and you don't even think about it.
Yeah, and now I don't even think about it because I know I have the capability to, do it. But sometimes there is that fear. It's like, dang, like, I have the goals to hit, and I want to hit them quick. So it's like, okay, I need the next deal. So definitely a fear sometimes is not getting deals, even though I know I can. It's just something in the back of your head as a sales guy, I feel like, in this especially, where it's just like, when you're getting deals, you're happy. So sometimes I'll, have that thing I'm struggling with of like, man, am I doing something wrong, and am I saying something wrong? And so that's when I'll go to Dakota and ask, and just fix anything that I do need to do different. Or sometimes it is all good, and people just don't want to sell right now, or I'm not hitting the right people. So that's probably one of the fears or like struggles I have. And then fears just probably not being good enough for like relationships and stuff like that. But other than that, I don't really fear too much about anything. I just know that I need to be smart with everything I do, and like, I know you guys have expectations for me, and like, I always like look up to you guys, where I'm just like, I need to do all of this stuff, and like, you guys help me a lot with getting over my fears or struggles or anything I've dealt with clearly. So yeah, that's probably like a couple things.
Yeah, I would say, I remember when I first got into sales too, I was the same way, dude. I jumped in, had no fear. I was like, I didn't even think I fully comprehended like what commission meant or what that. I was like, whatever, I'm gonna do it. I know I'm gonna be good. I know I'll figure it out. And then it was the same thing. I was just like, whatever, I'll figure it out. And something that I told you before too is just like, eventually, like, my first, I think 2 or 3 years, that was like, dude, I always had to do it. And then like after a while, I started to know that like, dude, like I think it takes like 4 years until you realize that, dude, this is a skill.
Yeah.
Like you've actually developed a skill. And that was something I was literally thinking about today, is that like nobody can take that skill from you no matter what. Like you can do this no matter what happens in life. If the market crashes, you got a skill. Like you can always do sales. I actually heard Mark Cuban say that. He said that in an interview. He's like, well, like, what if you lost absolutely everything? What would you do? He's like, I'd go sell. Yeah. Like sales is like, no matter what, if you're up, down, like doesn't matter what kind of market you're in, sales is great, and you don't just lose it. So it's pretty cool.
Mark Cuban said a lot of stuff that actually makes sense. I was just listening to him talk about like 5 years ago. He was like, well, you could take like most of your money, as a middle income individual, if your income's going to stay the same, go to Costco, buy all your stuff cheap, And then he's like, after that, I put like, whatever percentage in whatever fund. But then he said to put 10% of his money in something that's more volatile and more kind of like just of a gamble. And he said to put it in Bitcoin like 5 years ago. And I was like, oh my gosh, Mark Cuban's a genius. He got so rich from that. That's what I was thinking of when you started talking about Mark Cuban. I was like, dang, dude.
Yeah, he says a lot of good stuff, but yeah, that's something that like I always have to remind myself is that like, dude, like this is a skill and you can repeat it now. Like this is repeatable. Because like, that's the hard part about when you first start. And that's why I had a lot of doubt. Whenever I started, I did really well. Then I didn't sell for a couple weeks and I was freaking out. I was like, dude, maybe I got lucky and maybe it wasn't. But like, no, it actually is skill. And you have to remind yourself of that. That like, no, I developed some things. I know how to talk to people. Like, yes, we've given you all the tools to be able to do it. And like, you do have to have like the correct information to talk to them. You have to have like a lot of the systems that we set up, to be able to text and stuff. Yeah. But you still have skills that like, you're not going to lose.
Yeah. And I mean, too, before when, we've hired or tried some other people, I mean, they had everything I had.
Yeah, so exactly. They had the same exact tools.
They had everything I had. So, and then, that was another thing, too, you speaking on that. Before, like, I've had a couple weeks where I haven't, got anything, and it's stressful. But then I'm just like, man, I'm still in high school, but I don't feel like I'm in high school anymore. Like, I actually feel like I'm like, and I know I'm still young, and I don't even think about that stuff, though. I feel like I'm, like, on the freaking deathbed close, and I got to, like, push. So, yeah, and then another thing, too, that was definitely, like, struggle and like fear at first. Definitely when I started was like, that's the thing. I was like, man, maybe it is just luck. Like when I started at first, I was like, man, maybe I'm not like a sales guy or have any skills. It's just luck. And like, I'm getting lucky right now with these people. Like I literally thought that before sometimes. And like two, definitely one of my fears was like, I always would think at first, like I'm like, why me? Like that's what at first when I got, but I'm like, there's so many other people that have contacted you guys. There's so many other people that have like done the same things I've done. So that was definitely the hardest thing. I'm like, why me? And it like would make me like depressed or sad. And like, I always was like wondering that stuff. And then like, it's hard. And then especially when I'm coming in here still new, I'm like, well, maybe this is just luck. Like maybe I'm not actually a sales guy or like know anything about it. I'm just getting lucky. So that was definitely one of the things is like, why me? That was really one of the like the biggest things in the back of my head. Because, I'm like, I look up to you guys are my role models. I'm like, dang, these guys are like, and like, I just looked up to you guys so much and clearly. So that was one of my biggest things. I'm like, man, like, that's just crazy how it all happened. And I'm sure people from like where I'm at are like, oh, that's something like, oh, it's set up. Or like, that's what I wonder, like people like, oh, it's set up. Andrew had Joel or Andrew had this. Cause that's what people would say to me before is like, Andrew has Joel, Andrew has this. It's just like, you could have had the same things, like the same people that were reaching out to him and like trying to do the same thing that I'm doing now. We're doing the same things I did. But I was the one going out there. I was the one showing up. I was the one committed to it. So I don't like when people are like, well, Andrew had Joel to get him here. Andrew had this to get him there. Andrew had blah, blah, blah. It's like, no, that's not the case. And I don't think anybody outside of that knows that necessarily. Right. So, yeah, that's one of those are my fears.
Well, not just that, but a reminder that, like, dude, nobody is self-made. Yeah. You've always used somebody else, whether it's a bank, another person, whether it's the client. You can't, if you're sitting in a room by yourself, you can't do anything. You need other people. And I was thinking about this today too, actually. I was thinking about if I had the company like started all by myself. I'm like, dude, we would not even be close to where we're at now. Like not even close. So I just think you can go a lot further with other people and use the resources that are given to you. Doesn't matter what other people say. Dude, you had a resource and you used it. Same thing as when we use a private money lender. Some people are like, oh, you're not using all your own money? Oh, man, dirt. Like, dude, we actually had a guy that says like, oh, you got to borrow the money? Oh, man, like, is that like, that's a big deal. Yeah. It's like, dude, who cares? Use the resources you've been given because I promise there's a lot more resources out there. And I remember it was either Drew or Silas just talked about, don't blame your resources, blame your resourcefulness. Yeah. And that's what it is. Like, dude, everybody's got resources, and there's no shame to use them, whether you came from money or whether you were super broke. There's resources that you can use, and it's up to you.
Yep. So final question, 70 years from now, You're dying.
70.
Yeah, I have to keep it making
Well,
adjustments.
let's do 100 for him because we're probably gonna get some new technology.
You're gonna have like a bionic heart.
Yeah, well, dude, they're talking about this. I don't know if you saw that podcast where they're like spraying on cells to people, and it's regenerating their cells. So like they got burned, and instead of doing like pulling from somewhere, they just spray their own skin cells, regenerates it, and it looks like it never happened.
Wow.
Yeah.
So he's gonna live to 118.
All right. So 100 years from now, Andrew's on his deathbed, and he's got one last message to the world. His legacy could be like a billboard saying, it could be some words of encouragement, a paragraph, a sentence, something that sums up a legacy that you would want to leave or a lesson that you would want to teach. What is that?
Yeah, so I feel like definitely if I was on that last thing, I definitely want people to remember me as like, I'm young, I'm in this. I just want to be remembered as like, man, that kid was like that young and he was like doing what he was doing and he was around all these like amazing people and they were doing great things for the world. So that's definitely, I want to be remembered as like that young hustler that got into real estate that like did really good and helped other people in their life. So that's definitely a thing. And then, just like you're capable of anything that you want. And as long as you put in the work and sacrifice and, stay persistent, do everything you can do, then you're going to get it. And, I just want to be sitting on my deathbed saying, man, what if I didn't take that call? What if I didn't do anything? So definitely just like go after whatever you want and like whatever actually makes you happy, because I found out the factory wasn't making me happy. I found out none of these other things were making me happy. And now I really feel happy with what I'm doing and where I'm at. So yeah, I just feel like that you're the only one stopping yourself if you don't want to go get it. So yeah.
I like it. Cool. Yeah. Never mind. I was going to say something else. But cool. All right, guys. Well, thanks again for watching. If you guys like this, then please hit the like, share button, and show other people. The course is done. All we have to do now is open the LLC and figure out how we're going to take payments and everything. But we're all the way complete, so hopefully we'll have that out by the time you guys see this video is really the goal. If not, it will be within the next couple of days. Promise that. So thanks again for coming on, Andrew.
Thanks so much, guys.
Peace. Yeah, I was gonna